Ramiah Griffin's sister tells us that suspect Adeline Atongwa actually attended Ramiah's funeral and, in her view, has been...
The 20-year-old was found fatally shot in her apartment in Baldwin-Borough, Pennsylvania. Shockingly, her 1-year-old daughter was discovered right there too, alone and unattended next to her mother's body for over 13 hours. The suspected perpetrator, the child's father, Adeline Itona, a man once loved and welcomed as family. How did a relationship that seemed so filled with love end in such a tragic and violent way? This is the story of Ramiah Griffin, a tale swirling with love, betrayal, and a horrific act of violence that prematurely ended a vibrant young life. This story will make you question what you really know about the people closest to you, and it will linger in your mind long after you hear it. It all began with a simple knock at the door. Stay with us as we uncover the events leading to this heart-wrenching incident. Trust me, you won't see the intriguing twist coming. This is a true crime story that is as heartbreaking as it is captivating. So get ready to be thoroughly drawn into this emotional journey. Welcome to Fatal Fame, where all our stories are based on true crimes. Please support us by subscribing to this channel and clicking the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our latest stories. Let's take a moment to delve into the life of Ramiah Griffin together, a bright and beautiful young woman whose life was tragically cut short. Ramiah's story isn't just about how it ended. It's about all the vibrant moments that defined her before the tragedy. So, sit back as we paint a picture of Ramiah's world, filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. Born on a sunny spring morning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Ramiah Remy Griffin was the first joy of her parents. From the moment she opened her eyes, Ramiah was a burst of energy and happiness that lit up the room. Growing up in the bustling neighborhood of Baldwin-Borough, she quickly became known for her infectious smile and her bubbly personality. Ramiah's parents, both hard-working and devoted, ensured that their home was a nurturing environment filled with love and encouragement. Her father, a local mechanic, and her mother, a school teacher, instilled in her the values of kindness and hard work from a very young age. Ramiah also had a younger brother, who was her constant playmate and eventually her confidant as they navigated childhood together. As Ramiah entered school, her charismatic nature made her a favorite among peers and teachers alike. She thrived in her studies, showing an early aptitude for the arts. Her creativity shone through in class projects, and she often stayed after school to help organize school plays and community events. But it wasn't just academics and arts that caught Ramiah's fancy. She was also incredibly social. Her early years in school were marked by a growing circle of friends who were drawn to her easygoing and supportive nature. Ramiah was that friend who would always lend a listening ear or offer a shoulder to cry on, making her a beloved figure in her close-knit community. During her teenage years, Ramiah developed a passion for fashion and beauty. She started a small blog where she would post makeup tutorials and outfit tuts. Her style was eclectic and expressive, mirroring her vibrant personality. It wasn't long before her blog gained a modest following, and Ramiah dreamed of one day turning her passion into a career. Family was always at the center of Ramiah's life. She loved organizing family get-togethers and was often the life of every party or holiday gathering. Her relationship with her family, especially her grandmother, whom she called Nana, was particularly special. Nana Remy often shared stories of her own youth and passed down the family recipes that Ramiah loved to experiment with. As Ramiah grew into a young adult, her dreams began to take a clearer shape. She wanted to make a mark in the world of fashion and beauty, but also had a deep-seated desire to give back to her community. Ramiah talked about starting a non-profit to teach young girls about self-esteem and body positivity, combining her love for beauty with her passion for empowerment. Her family supported her dreams wholeheartedly, always encouraging her to aim high and never shying away from a challenge. Ramiah's life was full of potential, and everyone who knew her believed she was destined for great things. Her story was just beginning, and her dreams were set to take flight, making the abrupt end to her vibrant journey all the more heart-wrenching. As we explore Ria's life further, how will the memories of her laughter and dreams shape our understanding of the tragedy that followed? What lessons can we learn from a life that shone so brightly, yet ended so soon? Stay with us as we continue to uncover the deep layers of Ramiah Griffin's story and share your thoughts. What could the world have gained from the full realization of Ramiah's dreams and aspiration? On a chilly February morning in Baldwin Borough, Pennsylvania, a scene of heartbreaking reality was unfolding in what should have been a safe haven, Ramiah's apartment. Here, where laughter and dreams once filled the rooms, an eerie silence now lingered. It was here, amidst the remnants of everyday life, that Ramiah was found, having been cruelly taken from those she loved. As first responders stepped into the living room, they encountered a sight that would haunt even the most seasoned among them. Ramiah, a vibrant young mother whose life was brimming with potential, lay still, a victim of multiple gunshot wounds. The brutality of the scene was stark, a grim reminder of the fragility of life. Beside her, in a poignant testament to the tragedy that had occurred, was her 1-year-old daughter. The little girl, too young to understand the magnitude of what had happened, had been alone for over 13 hours. She was found next to her mother in a space that had once been filled with warmth and security, now shattered by violence. This heart-wrenching discovery not only highlighted the brutal end of a young woman's life, but also brought to the forefront the innocence caught in the wake of such violence. Ramiah's daughter, a tiny survivor of a profound loss, became a poignant symbol of the story's deep emotional layers. As the community grappled with the news, the questions began to pile up. Who could have done this, and why? What led to such a tragic outcome in what seemed like a loving relationship? The investigation was urgent, not just to seek justice for Ramiah, but to ensure the safety and well-being of her daughter and to prevent such a tragedy from ever occurring again. This tragic event has left a void in the hearts of all who knew Ramiah or have come to know her story through these narratives. As we move forward exploring the ongoing investigation and the effects of this tragedy on the community, we invite you to reflect on the value of life and the impact of our actions on those we love. Let's take a moment to think about how we can support each other in times of unimaginable loss and how we can work together to build a community where every member feels safe and cherished. What steps can we take to ensure that no other family has to endure such a devastating loss? How can we extend our support to those who are vulnerable and in need of help? Your thoughts and insights are invaluable as we continue to seek understanding and healing together. Please feel free to share your reflections and join the conversation. In our ongoing exploration of the tragic story of Ramiah Griffin, we must turn our attention to a central figure, Adeline Itona, the father of Ramiah's daughter and the primary suspect in this heart-wrenching case. This part of the story is tough. It looks at how what started as a beautiful relationship could end in such a devastating way. Adeline stepped into Ramiah's life full of charm and a vibrant energy that matched Ramiah's own spirit. He came from Kenya, bringing with him a rich cultural background that seemed to complement Ramiah's lively personality. They met through mutual friends, clicked instantly, and soon became a couple that everyone admired. Their relationship blossomed surrounded by love, laughter, and high hopes. Soon after, they welcomed their daughter into the world, which seemed to make their happiness complete. In those early days, Adeline was everything Ramiah had hoped for in a partner. He was supportive, involved, and loving. Their friends and family often commented on how perfect they seemed together. Their social media was filled with pictures and videos of them having fun on vacations, enjoying family dinners, and just living what seemed to be a happy life. However, as time went on, things began to change. The small disagreements that are normal in any relationship began to grow into bigger conflicts. The easy laughter that had once filled their home started to fade, replaced by a tension that you could almost feel hanging in the air. This shift was hard to miss, and it began to worry those who were close to Rhea. The pressure of parenting, combined with unresolved issues, started to strain their relationship further. Adeline's personality seemed to shift. He became quieter, more withdrawn, and at times quick to anger. This wasn't the Adeline that Rhea or their friends and family knew. The change was alarming and made Rhea's loved ones feel uneasy. They saw the red flags, but hoped things would get better. Unfortunately, the relationship continued to deteriorate. What once was a partnership filled with promise and affection turned into something dark and troubling. The details of what exactly happened in the days leading up to the tragedy are still being put together by the police, but it ended in the worst possible way. Rhea was found lifeless in her home, with their young daughter by her side, alone and scared. This devastating moment shattered the lives of Rhea's family and shocked the entire community. The man who had once been a loving partner and a doting father was now suspected of a heinous crime. It left everyone with a haunting question. How could someone who had loved so deeply become capable of such an act? It's important for us to think about the lessons this tragedy can teach us. We need to talk about how to recognize when a relationship is starting to go wrong and what to do about it. How can we support each other in times of need? What can be done to help families who are facing these kinds of serious problems? Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly valuable as we continue to discuss this difficult story. Please share your insights or suggestions on how we can come together as a community to support those in crisis and prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. On February 9th, a day that began just like any other, the life of Ramiah Griffin and her loved ones was forever altered. Let's take a moment to walk through the details of that day, understanding the stark contrast between the ordinary start and the tragic end. The day kicked off in a typical fashion in Ramiah's cozy apartment in Baldwin, Pennsylvania. The winter morning was cold and quiet outside, but inside, Ramiah's apartment was warm and bustling with activity. Rhea was up early, as was her routine, especially since becoming a mother. Her young daughter, always her first priority, needed breakfast and help getting dressed for the day. Rhea moved around her kitchen with ease, fixing breakfast while her daughter played nearby. The smell of coffee filled the air, mingling with the scent of toasted bread, simple morning pleasures that Rhea always cherished. After breakfast, there might have been some singing and dancing, as Rhea loved to keep her daughter entertained. These moments, full of laughter and joy, were ordinary yet precious snapshots of their daily life. Outside, the neighborhood was waking up. People were heading to work, bundled up against the chill, while kids with backpacks trotted off to school. Dogs were walked, joggers made their rounds, and the day progressed just like any other. Rhea's plans for later might have included grocery shopping or a play date at the park if the weather allowed. Perhaps she had some calls to make or a friend to meet for lunch. It was a Thursday. Nothing out of the ordinary was expected. As the morning shifted into afternoon, the normal rhythm of Rhea's day was shockingly disrupted. The exact sequence of events remains partly unclear, pieced together only by later reports and forensic evidence. However, what's known is deeply unsettling. In the early afternoon, something horrific happened inside the apartment. A neighbor, concerned by unusual noises, perhaps muffled thuds or cries, made a decisive call to 911. This call, made out of worry and urgency, marked the first alert that something was terribly wrong. When the police arrived, they were met with a scene that contrasted sharply with the peacefulness of the neighborhood. Inside the apartment, they found Rhea tragically and fatally wounded in her living room, an area where just hours before she had been a loving mother playing with her child. It was a scene that spoke of a sudden and violent tragedy, leaving silent echoes of the terror that must have unfolded. Her daughter, thankfully physically unharmed, was discovered in another room, seemingly confused and scared. This little girl, only a year old, had been left alone in the aftermath of the tragedy, a stark reminder of the day's horrific turn. The ripple effects of the tragedy were immediate and profound. Neighbours, friends, and family members were stunned by the news. Rhea, known for her vibrant spirit and loving nature, had been a pillar of warmth and kindness in her community. The suddenness of her loss, under such brutal circumstances, left everyone grappling with grief and disbelief. As the community mourned, questions began to swirl. What could have led to such a violent act? Who would want to harm Ramiah, and why? The investigation would need to answer these questions, not only to seek justice for Rhea, but also to restore a sense of safety and peace to the community shaken by such a loss. How can we be more vigilant and supportive neighbours? What measures can we take to ensure our communities are safe for everyone? Let's explore how the investigation unfolded after the tragic day that took Ramiah Griffin's life, focusing on how Adeline Itona emerged as the prime suspect and the evidence that pointed towards his involvement. Immediately after Rhea was found, the police began a meticulous examination of the crime scene. They were looking for any clues that could explain what had happened and who was responsible. The apartment held the keys to understanding the events leading up to Ramiah's untimely death. In the living room where Rhea was discovered, the police collected several crucial pieces of evidence. They found fingerprints and other forensic materials that would need to be analysed to see if they matched Adeline or anyone else who might have been in the apartment. But more significantly, they found Rhea's cell phone, which had missed calls and texts that could potentially outline her last interactions. Adeline became a prime suspect for several reasons. Firstly, as Ramiah's partner and the father of her child, he had regular access to the apartment, which placed him at the scene without needing forced entry. Secondly, there were reports from neighbours about previous loud arguments between Rhea and Adeline, suggesting a turbulent relationship. These factors made the police focus more closely on him. Adeline initially told the police that he was out of town on business the day Rhea was killed. However, this claim quickly fell apart under scrutiny. Phone records showed that his mobile phone was pinged by cell towers near the apartment around the time of Ramiah's death. Additionally, there was no evidence from his supposed business trip, no receipts, no hotel bookings, and no corroborating testimonies from colleagues or clients. Surveillance video from nearby locations also contradicted his statements. Cameras captured footage of a vehicle similar to Adeline's near Ramiah's apartment around the estimated time of the murder. These pieces of evidence raised serious doubts about Adeline's whereabouts during the critical hours when Rhea was last seen alive. The police also reviewed CCTV footage from the area, which showed a person matching Adeline's description entering and leaving the apartment complex around the time Rhea is believed to have died. Additionally, forensic analysis of the crime scene matched some fingerprints to Adeline, adding more weight to the suspicions against him. As the evidence began to stack up, it became increasingly clear that Adeline's initial alibi didn't hold up. The combination of physical evidence, surveillance data, and inconsistencies in his story led the police to arrest Adeline, charging him with the murder of Ramiah Griffin. The investigation is still ongoing, as the authorities work to piece together a complete picture of what happened that tragic day. Meanwhile, the community remains in shock, grappling with the loss of Ramiah and the troubling details emerging about Adeline's role in the tragedy. The community's response to the tragic death of Ramiah Griffin was one of profound grief and disbelief. Rhea was a beloved member of her neighbourhood, known for her vibrant personality and kindness, making the news of her untimely demise especially hard to accept. As news of the tragedy spread, neighbours, friends, and even strangers in the community were left in shock. Many couldn't believe that such a violent act could happen to someone known for her gentle spirit and loving nature. Social media became a platform where people shared their sorrow and memories of Ramiah, with many expressing their confusion and anger over how such a tragedy could occur. Local businesses, where Ramiah was a regular, and other places she had impacted, held moments of silence, with some setting up small memorials where community members could leave flowers, candles, and notes. These gestures showed the deep connection between Ramiah and her community, highlighting how widely her loss was felt. In response to the community's need to come together and mourn, several vigils were organized. The largest of these took place in a local park, a spot where Ramiah often spent time with her daughter. Hundreds of people attended, bringing candles, pictures, and flowers. During the vigil, people spoke about Ramiah's impact on their lives, shared stories of her kindness, and expressed their hope for justice in her case. One particularly touching moment was when Ramiah's mother spoke to the crowd, thanking them for their support and sharing how much it meant to her family to see the community come together in honor of her daughter. She emphasized Ramiah's love for her community and her hopes for her daughter's future, now so tragically altered. A memorial fund was set up in Ramiah's name to provide support for her young daughter's future. This fund also aims to raise awareness about domestic violence, an issue that this tragedy has brought to the forefront of the community's consciousness. Local organizations partnered to provide resources and support, and workshops on domestic violence awareness and prevention were scheduled, inspired by the need highlighted by Ramiah's story. The local churches and community centers offered counseling services to those affected by the tragedy, recognizing the profound impact such an event has on the collective mental health of the community. These services provided a space for people to express their grief and find support among others who were struggling with similar feelings. The overwhelming response from the community not only reflects the grief and shock at such a tremendous loss, but also a strong resolve to remember Ramiah and what she stood for. It highlights a collective commitment to seek justice for her death and to support her surviving daughter, ensuring that Ramiah's spirit and love continue to be felt. As the community continues to deal with this tragedy, the vigils, memorials, and ongoing support activities serve as a testament to the impact Ramiah had on her community and the powerful ways in which a community can come together in times of profound sorrow. As we reflect on the heart-wrenching story of Ramiah Griffin, it's crucial to consider the broader implications of her tragedy. Ramiah's story is not just a singular incident. It echoes a much larger issue that affects countless individuals and communities: domestic violence. The loss of young lives to such violence is a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done in our societies to protect and support those at risk. This tragedy underscores the urgent need for increased awareness and prevention efforts surrounding domestic violence. It is a call to action for everyone, from individuals to organizations, to educate themselves and others about the signs of domestic violence and the best ways to intervene safely. We must strengthen our resources for those in abusive situations, ensuring they have safe and accessible ways to seek help. Moreover, Ramiah's story highlights the importance of community support. In times of crisis, the support of a community can be a powerful force for healing and change. Let us take this moment to commit to being vigilant and supportive neighbors, friends, and family members. Let's ensure that those suffering in silence feel empowered to reach out, knowing they will find help and understanding. As we continue to seek justice for Ramiah and to understand the full scope of what led to her untimely death, there is an unexpected twist in the investigation that promises to shed new light on the case. New evidence has surfaced, and what was once thought to be the truth may be challenged, adding layers of complexity to our understanding of the events leading up to Ramiah's death. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into these developments. The next chapter of this investigation could change everything we thought we knew about the case. Your engagement and continued support in following Ramiah's story are invaluable as we navigate these new revelations. Together, let's keep pushing for truth and justice, ensuring that Ria's story leads to meaningful change and that her memory continues to inspire action against domestic violence. Thank you for being part of this important conversation. Your voice and action can make a real difference. Let's honor Ria's memory by working together to create a safer, more supportive world for all.